Hey guys, I just wanted to drop off another tiny tidbit. And this is just, I pray it will be a word of encouragement to someone. And this is just something that God dropped in my spirit. And if I had to title this message, it would be, It's Time to Move. It's time to move. For 2022, that's where you're going to see breakthrough, blessing, and manifestation in movement. Hey, glory. Um, The Bible says faith without without works is dead, and works without faith is dead. So we've been praying and praying and praying and praying and praying. Some of us been fasting and praying, but now it's time to do. In order for Peter to catch his fish, he had to respond to what God said. So he had to do something. He had to take his net from one side of the boat and cast it on the other side. And in obedience to the word, he received breakthrough. He received manifestation. He received the blessing that he needed, that he was in search of. And that's the word for 2022. It's time to move. It's time to put feet and hands to our prayers. It's time to do something. God gave me a word one time and he said, you don't like it, do something about it. It's time to do something. Hey, glory. You don't like the way your body looks? Do something about it. It's time to stop talking. We done prophesied and prophesied out in the air. See, we have the glory of God in our mouths because we're made in his likeness and in his image. So when we speak, it's like praying. It's like prophesying. That's what he said, watch what you say, because life and death is in the power of the tongue. We done complained. That's like a backwards prayer. That's like a distorted prayer because there's power in your mouth. So we done prophesied about how we don't like it. Oh, child, my stomach's getting so big, and we say it day in and day out. But what do we do about it? Hey, glory. Do we go to the gym? Do we start exercising? No pain, no gain. Don't you have to push that baby out? You have to push for that child to be birthed. We got to push, y'all, for some of for these things to be birthed into the natural realm. We have to push. We're going to experience some pain, y'all. We got to bear down. We might have to cry sometime. But we have to be intentional about getting this thing out of the spirit into the natural. We have to do something. We have to move. And if we don't move, if we don't push, if we don't bear down, that thing's going to die. That dream's going to die. That vision's going to die. And sometimes in the labor, we get tired. Because we've labored through our prayers, we've labored through fasting. And then when it's time, when that baby's right there at the crown, we so tired we can't even push it out. And that baby and that vision and that dream will suffocate right there in the canal. The cares of the world, the stresses of the world, the pains of the world choke the word. And that baby and that dream and that vision will die right there in the canal. That's why a lot of times they say if you're not pushing good enough, they'll say, come on, we got to hurry up and get this baby out of here. Or its life will be at stake. Without a vision, the people perish. Without a plan, the people perish. Without structure, the people perish. We got to have structure. We got to have vision. We got to have focus, or we will perish. You ever see somebody just out every now and then just walking around like they just walking around in a daze? And a lot of times you'll look at them and be like, you might say they up to something, or they look like they looking for trouble, or they about to get in trouble. Without a vision, the people perish. An idle mind is a devil's workshop. It's time to move. We have not seen manifestation and breakthrough in the previous years that God has been promising because we have neglected to do our due diligence, to do our due diligence. And we've been thinking we waiting on God, and God is saying, I'm waiting on you. The widow woman had to gather. She had to go out and gather. She even borrowed, but she did something. She went out and gathered her vessels. God said, I'll bless whatever you set your, he said, I'll bless whatever you set your hands to do. He said, I'll bless wherever your feet tread. Tread means you're getting up, you're walking, you're moving. God said, I've been wanting, he said, as you do, as you respond to my word, he said, then my super will connect and become intimate with your natural, and then that birthing will take place. That super and that natural will conceive together and produce, and that birthing will be manifested. God said, what are you doing for me to put my blessing on? God's waiting. He's excited. He's intense. He said, I wish above all that you would prosper. He said, I want you to have life here and that more abundantly. He don't want you to be poor. He don't want you to be just barely making it. He don't want you to be living paycheck to paycheck. He said, I gave you power to get well. You know how he gave you power? For one, because he's in you. And number two, because he said it. And he said his word won't go forth and come back void. And number three, he said, I gave you power to get wealth. Because he put it in you. And that's the word, that's the clarity that that is what he's trying to stress to us in this 2022 year. It's time to move. Listen, you got to have a vision. You got to have a vision. You got to have something you're working on. You got to have a goal you're working towards. If you just eat all day long, every day, whatever you want to eat with no structure, no plan, no diet plan, what's going to happen? You will perish because you're going to get high blood pressure. You're going to be eating too much salt. You're going to be eating too much sugar. You're going to get overweight. Your heart's going to suffer. You're going to start getting fat built around your heart. Without a vision, the people perish without structure. You hear life coaches coming on now and motivational speakers. They say if you want to have a chance to have a productive day, they said just make your bed when you get up. You know why? Because it's always going to be a domino effect. You know why? Because God created us to multiply. He created us to be fruitful. And so when we begin to operate and we weren't created to be stagnant. We were created to flow, be fruitful, multiply. So that when those life coaches say just get up and make your bed, why? Because they know what's already in you that is going to cause you. Then you're going to want to after you make your bed, you're going to look around, then you're going to want to vacuum. Then you're going to want to fold the clothes. Well, it's not going to look right if the bed's made and there's crumbs all on the floor. And it's going to be a domino effect. And that's why you have to have a focus, a focal point. They're trying to encourage you. They're trying to give you a focal point. Because they know without that focus, what he say, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Your whole day will probably be off. So in 2022, this is where your breakthrough, your blessings, and your manifestations are going to begin to be fulfilled. Because God is going to ignite his super with whatever you do in the natural. And you will begin to see blessing, breakthrough, and manifestation in 2022. You ever hear that saying, use it or lose it? It's a true saying. That's true. If you don't use your muscles, they begin to go limp. They begin to sag. Why? Because they're not being used. They get weak. They begin to die. Even in therapy and physical therapy, you know why? A lot of times when your muscles start getting stiff and they prescribe physical therapy, they need you to begin to get physical. They need you to begin to move, to wake up, reawaken, to bring those muscles and those tendons and everything back to life. They begin to go limp. Why? Because they weren't being used. Without a vision, they had no vision, no purpose. The people perish. You know why walking sometimes is therapy? Because as long as you're moving, walking used to be therapy for me back when I was younger. I need to get back into it. But it used to be therapy for me. Why? Number one, it took my mind off of other things that were trying to cloud my mind. So I didn't have time to focus on whatever was trying to taunt my mind at that time, because I began to do something else. And when you begin to move, the walking was therapy, because as long as I was walking, regardless of how I was feeling, regardless of what was going on around me, as long as I was walking, it wasn't overtaking me. It wasn't stopping me. It wasn't paralyzing me, because I kept moving. As long as I was moving, I wasn't dying. You know why sometimes cleaning is a therapy for some people? Why? Because you're moving. Because it's giving you vision. You're organizing. You're putting things in place. And that's giving you a purpose. That's giving you hope. That's giving you life. And so when you begin to move, every fiber of your being, regardless of what it looks like, when you keep moving and you begin to move, what it's doing, it's screaming out into the principalities in the air that I'm not dying. I'm not giving up. because I'm still moving. I'm still doing something. My vision is not complete. I'm still building. And so I just wanted to share that word and that message. And I pray that a little piece of encouragement for someone out there, that this word might be for you. God said, move. It's time to move. He said, put something in the bank so I can multiply it. He said, gather your vessels so I can fill them. He said, pick up something so I can bless what you set your hand to do. He said, get up and go somewhere so I can bless wherever your feet tread. Movement. It's time to move in 2022. It's time to push that baby out. You got to push that promise out. Amen.